Hey guys, Matt Allen here. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin'. Today we're headed out on the water again. We're headed out to do some cold winter bass fishing. We've got a beautiful day, a beautiful sunrise. Let's go catch some fish. The goal for today is to head out here and get on a reaction bite. That is my hope. Now you can see bluebird skies. It'll be an interesting day. I've got A-rigs and jerk baits laying on the deck ready to go. That's how we're going to start things off. And then we're going to let the fish tell us what to do from there. We've got everything from swim baits to Ned rigs ready to rock below deck. It just depends on the fish. Whoa, did you see that? That was as the A-rig was coming out of the water. Oh my gosh. I was at the boat lifting, the bait was within 6 inches of the surface. And I'm in 15 feet of water. That thing had to have followed it all the way up. That was awesome. That's the power of the A-rig right there. Wow, hopefully that's the start to a special day. The fish. We'll take him. A little smaller than the first one, a little farther from the boat. Awesome. Thank you, friend. So I've started out with the A-rig because, as you guys know, an A-rig is a very powerful tool in the wintertime. It has a ton of drawing power, so it'll pull fish further than other baits will. There's something about that schooling, and then we're using our flex rig. And this is the largest size of the tactical rigs. I'm trying to match larger bait fish, at least to start things off, hoping to draw a larger bite. But the key today is that we're trying to get reaction bites. So I'm not just steadily reeling this through the water. When I'm fishing this thing, I'm winding it through the water, but then I'm using a combination of rod tip twitches and reel twitches, reel snaps, to create an action in the rig. So what I'm doing is every time I flex that rod or pop that reel, this rig collapses and opens back up. It doesn't snag itself in the water, but collapses down and opens back up. Collapses down, opens back up. And you notice I always do two. The logic there is this is swimming through the water. This looks like a school of shad or bait fish coming through the water column. If a school of bait fish is casually swimming along and they're all spread out and they see a predator, they immediately tighten up and then they run. So I give it these two twitches. That first twitch, everything tightens up. And what I'm trying to do is convince the fish that this school of bait fish has spotted the predator. And that second twitch is them starting their run. And there's just something about that. It triggers something inside of a bass and they react and they lash out, and it works really well. All right, guys, I got my A-rig stuck and it's in about 10 feet of water. If it's in less than 15, that's when this tool comes out. This is made by Fraybill. This pole extends to 15 feet. And on the end of it, it's got this corkscrew. That corkscrew is by far the best thing I've found for getting A-rigs out. The only limitation is that it's got to be shallow enough to reach. So I twist this corkscrew onto my line, and then I push this down to the bottom, and I'm going to push my A-rig out of the snag. Let me get over the top of it so I can reach. What makes this so effective is that if it won't immediately come out, like it won't right now, there we go, I can twist it around the rig and pull the whole mess up. So the rig will actually go up inside of it, just like that. See, all the hooks got squeezed through the interior, and then I'm able to push it out. I bent out one of my hooks, I can see it from here, but that's a great alternative to losing my entire rig. We use 2 different types of lure retrievers on a regular basis. One for shallow, this guy, and one for deep, the traditional hound dog type knocker. Both have a place, both are incredibly effective. I'll straighten this rig up, I'll replace that one bent out hook, and I'm back in business. Just saved a pile of money. That one was right on the twitch and it knocked my hand off the reel. I wasn't expecting a fish to catch it right on the twitch. Oh, a little spotted bass. Hello, friend. I downsized. That's the mini flex. That's our mid-size rig. Gotta love that. So I moved up shallower. That first spot there, we were in 12 to 13 feet of water, and then there was a little 2-foot break, just a little break in the bottom that dropped to 15 foot. Most people would think a little contour change like that would be nothing, right? Not a big deal. But fish, particularly cold fish in the wintertime that don't want to have to move a lot, they want to ambush if they can. A cold water bass will use a contour like that so fast. So those fish, they'll line up on a contour like that, and anything that comes over the top. So, you know, bait fish cruising across a 12, 13 foot bottom, all of a sudden they find themselves 2 feet off the bottom as the bottom drops away on that little 2-foot lip, and the bass will sit right on that edge. Those bait fish will come over the top of them and they attack. The A-rig, obviously, is a perfect imitator of that, coming out over the top, and those fish can just jump up and eat that thing. Now, that particular spot was out in open water. Obviously, you need a boat for that, but if you're a guy on the bank, I don't care if you're fishing a big lake or a pond, little contours like that can be everything in the wintertime. One of the biggest ones I see is in lakes that fluctuate. If that water has dropped in the past and then the waves beat on the bank, it'll create a little step, like an old shoreline. And when that water goes back up, that little step is still down there. I've seen things as small as a 6-inch step hold giant bass. It's amazing. So now I've moved up shallower. I'm just going down the bank, throwing up towards the shore. That fish was in maybe 6 feet of water, just blind casting, working my way down the bank, trying something different. We're gonna keep going. There's one. Another little guy. Little guy, but we'll take it. Any bite is a good bite on a crisp morning. All right, it's time to fire up the Yamaha and make a move here. We've gone a couple 100 yards without a bite. We've been fishing those contour edges, rocky shoreline, rocky points. let's go do something different. Let's go fish some wood. Wood is another place where you'll see a lot of fish congregate this time of year. When they get in that stuff, they tend to just sit there. They'll sit there all winter because it's a good habitat for them. So let's make a big run down the lake, maybe head into a backwater. Let's get on some of that steeper shoreline, maybe some laid down trees, that sort of thing. Maybe pull out the jerkbait and try something completely different. Got him. Throwing the stroll shad. So you can see these laid down trees coming into the water here behind me. I went down the entire run of them with an A-rig and a jerkbait, and I never got a single bite. But I mean, this is the stuff. These are where fish set up in the wintertime. So I turned around, picked up the strolling bait. I think that was my 4th or 5th cast. I'm just throwing right to the laydowns, letting it sink. I mean, I'm just looking at the slope halfway to bottom and then just shaking and reeling, trying to pull fish off the ends of the trees. That's the first one. The concept worked. Hopefully we can repeat it. Whoops, sorry, buddy. That was the next cast back to the same tree. We're definitely onto something. We'll fire another one up there. I just broke off, which is going to happen when you're throwing an exposed hook into laid down trees. So I thought I'd show you what I'm doing here, rigging this thing up. I'm throwing the Hog Farmer 5-inch stroll shad. That's that guy right there. That's electric shad. And then I'm putting that on the Dirty Jigs HD guppy, so the tungsten guppy. And I want the 1/4 ounce, this one. So the Dirty Jigs guppy head has been around forever, but now there's the tungsten, which is the HD, so the heavy duty. So 2/0 heavy duty as opposed to a 1/0 standard wire or light wire hook. So I like this 1/4 ounce because that really gives me control of my bait. I can maintain depth really well, but I still get a ton of rock. That's how I rig that thing. Hopefully you can see it. And as I tie this thing on, I throw it out and I let it fall, and then I just shake it while I reel. This bait has this unbelievable rock to it. So instead of a swim bait with a paddle tail kicking, by shaking, I'm getting this rocking motion as it comes through the water column. And these cold water fish, I mean, they just can't say no to it. I tie it on with a San Diego jam knot. That's how I make my connection. And I'll link all the gear in the video description, of course, you know, from the A-rigs to the rods we're using, everything. But I use a San Diego jam and I cinch it down tight, but I leave just the tiniest little bit of slack at the head. So essentially, I'm treating it like it's a loop knot, if I can get my numb fingers to work. There's just a little breeze in here today and it is cold. All right, so I snug it up tight, but I hold it just off the head of the bait, which allows a little bit of free movement. So a lot of people doing this type of fishing will use a loop knot. I don't use a loop knot because I've never found one that I felt was really strong and really consistent. But I used that San Diego Jam, left just a tiny bit loose. As soon as you set up on a fish, it snugs it up tight, but in the meantime, it gives that bait really good range of motion. Of course, I'm throwing this on the X-Pride, the 610 medium solid tip. So I've got total control, great feel. I'm just shaking that thing down these trees. Let's get back to it. There's one. I came out to a main lake point. It's actually a little deep water access right on the side of a main lake point. That was our first cast out here. Back to slinging that A-rig. That feels like a good fish. You guys can see my conditions. High bluebird sky, bright, slick calm. Oh, it's a drum. Come here. I switched over to a Ned rig. The purple Ned. Something we talk about quite a bit in the winter time. It's just a confidence thing for me. When the going gets tough, that purple Ned gets bit. That would have been a perfect example, except that it was the completely wrong species. Let's try again. All right, we got this little bit of a breeze on the water. I don't know if you can see it there. That was just enough to convince me to start trying to get a reaction bite again. I pulled up on this rocky point. That was the first cast. There's one. On the blade bait. Oh, it's a good one. We'll take him. That's our best fish of the day. Beautiful. That's the one we were looking for right there. We've had a lot of activity today, but a lot of smaller fish. That's a good, solid one right there. He ate that blade bait out at the end of a long cast. Thank you, friend. All right, guys, it's time to wrap it up. We're losing light quickly. I've got to fire this motor up and we've got a long run back, but today was an absolute blast. The goal, like I said in the beginning, was to get a reaction bite. Despite the cold water, despite water temps in the 40s, you can get fish to react. You don't just have to slow fish. So that was my goal, and we definitely had that going this morning. I mean, when that first fish all but jumped into the boat in freezing cold water, I mean,
I felt like it was going to be a pretty good day. And this morning, it was going strong there for a while. We got a lot of bites, caught a bunch of fish. It was happening quick. And then once that sun got up, bluebird sky, slick calm, it's like a light switch. There was no more reaction. After that, it was work. Strolling, picking up that stroll shad, that was key for a couple of really nice bites. And then I felt like anytime the wind would blow, even a ripple, I could go back to that A-rig and start looking for that reaction bite again. But if it was slick on this day, they just would not do it. Thankfully, we got that beautiful blade bait fish to wrap it up. And that's the thing about winter. It doesn't matter if it's an epic day or a brutal day. At any moment, a giant can bite, or a good quality, above average fish can bite, you know, something that will turn your day around. So I'm really glad that we got a really good, solid one to wrap it up. Just a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys were listening to the little nuggets, because we talk a lot about, you know, where fish go in the winter, but those little things, like finding those little transitions, that's totally different than, hey, go find a main lake point or go find an island top, right? Those little subtle things can be anywhere. Whether you're on a boat, whether you're walking the bank, you can take that and you can apply it to where you fish. Get out there this winter, catch those fish, because again, you never know when a giant will bite. All right, guys, I'll link all the baits, the gear, all that stuff in the video description. I'm gonna fire it up and get running back. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon.